Okay, well, welcome everybody, and thanks so much for joining us today. Really appreciate you taking the time. My name's Dominic Vandermeer, and I'm from Corporate Edge, and my co-host today is Andrew Strickland, joining us all the way from the head office of Teamphoria, all the way in South Carolina in the US. Are you there, Andrew?
Yes, sir. Thanks, Dom. Pleasure to be here. I would drop a joke about using the word y'all, but I actually don't use it because my parents are from the northern United States.
A little bit of culture for us here in Aussie, that would be great. So, look, Andrew and I are really excited to be here to demonstrate a little of Teamphoria and discuss the potential role of a digital peer-to-peer engagement and recognition platform for your team. Now, we're in excellent hands here with Andrew, as nobody understands the platform as well as he does. And I will pass over to Andrew in a little while so you can see a hands-on demonstration of this amazingly powerful software solution that the guys at Spark have actually built over the years to actually help support their own team and their own culture over there in the States. So looking forward to that. Before I do, I'd like to explain the relationship Corporate has with Teamphoria and why this partnership is actually so important to us and the work that we do. Here at Corporate Edge, our primary aim is to help organizations achieve great outcomes by creating aligned behavior throughout the organization. Now, what we find is that most organizations tend to focus solely on new and improved strategy to move their business forward and achieve the great outcomes they desire. And I'd like to share with you a conversation we often have with members of the senior leadership teams in those organizations to help expand their focus away from just another new strategy and then another. So let's start, if we will, with the primary goal of any SLT, any senior leadership team. Now, obviously, the primary goal of any senior leadership team is to ensure the success of the business. That's their overarching goal. But the question we often ask these senior leaders, and I'll ask the same of all of you today, is what are the three primary outcomes required of the senior leadership team? So what are the three primary outcomes required of the senior leadership team in order to ensure the success of their business? Now, invariably, we arrive at two answers quite quickly. The first we get is the SLT is there to define the vision of the organization. That is, where are we heading and why? What is it that we're actually trying to achieve? Because, of course, without this vision, the organization is like a rudderless ship. Now, the second and correct answer we often get for the role of the SLT is, how is it that we're going to achieve that vision? Now, we call this the strategy. So very quickly, we intrinsically understand that we need somewhere to go, the vision, and secondly, we need a way to get there, which is the strategy. But as I said, there is a third and very important role of the SLT, and this can often be a little trickier for most teams. So when we ask this, we usually get a number of different answers, something like they're there to implement the strategy or execute the strategy, which of course is the same thing, but it's not actually the third most important role for the SLT. So often we say, well, would you like to buy a consonant, I'd like to buy a vowel, and so we give them the C, and then we move on to the U, and perhaps most of you may have guessed now that what we're talking about here is defining and fostering the culture. So that's the three main roles of the SLT, to ensure that they have a vision, they have a strategy, and then they have the culture in place. Now, the thing is, culture can be an elusive term. It's a little bit hard to understand what it is for some people, but for us, it's not actually that tricky. The way we describe it is culturally is simply the cumulative set of behaviours exhibited by the individuals in the organisation. So let's repeat that. Culture is simply the cumulative set of behaviours exhibited by the individuals in the organisation. And it's these behaviours which allow them to achieve the strategy, which will then ultimately deliver the vision. So without the right behaviour, it doesn't matter how clear the vision or how clever the strategy, you simply will never get there. And so often we see these companies having roadshows once or maybe twice a year where they may go to considerable lengths to present the vision, usually with a fancy PowerPoint deck, perhaps even more amazing than this masterpiece that you're seeing in front of you. And they say, you know, this is where we're heading, and this is how we're going to get there. So this is our strategy, this is our vision. And usually everybody's super excited and inspired. Wow, that's brilliant. You know, people walk out of these great presentations with the feeling of excitement, and everyone agrees, yep, this is definitely where we should be headed, and the path to get there seems spot on. So from there, they walk back to their desks and they sit there all excited and they wait for this new vision to transpire. And that's simply because they're performing exactly the same behaviours they did that day and the day before and the day before that. It doesn't matter if you have 12 employees or 12,000 employees. If they repeat the same behaviours, you'll invariably always get exactly the same results, regardless of where it is you want to go. So often this creates a little bit of a cycle. They say, well, obviously the vision was off, or more likely, the strategy was wrong. So they go off and they create a new strategy and then another fancy slide deck, and perhaps they order more balloons for the next presentation so it'll be more inspiring than the last one. And here we go, round and round, because until we actually modify the behaviours that can actually set us on the path to achieving the strategy and therefore the vision, we are never going to get anywhere. So we've all heard the phrase, nothing changes if nothing changes. Well, this is often exactly the case. Why? Because it's the culture, or in other words, the cumulative set of behaviours which ultimately facilitate the achievement of the strategy and the vision. So if we know that, the question then becomes, well then, how do we change the culture? Now, I'm not talking about creating the culture because, as most of you should already know, the culture already exists. Every organisation has a culture. The question is, how do we change the culture to make sure it is capable of delivering the outcomes we've all decided are the ones that we want? Now, hopefully you've picked up now, since culture is actually the cumulative set of the behaviours, if we want to change the culture, we need to change the behaviours. It's as simple and yet as difficult and as complicated as that. But ultimately, it's about changing the behaviours in order to actually change the culture. And this is where we as an organisation actually do most of our work. Now clearly, the first place to start is leadership. We need to take stock of where the leadership mindset is at and then define the type of behaviours the leaders need to model as an example for the rest of the team. This is absolutely crucial. Included in these behaviours is the implementation of systemic behaviours, such as more open communication, consistent feedback, performance reviews, recognition. All these things are necessary to help guide and evolve that culture. Now, if you look at some of those things, performance reviews, recognition, feedback, you'll see that if you can actually get those things off the ground, if that's the sort of culture, the behaviours that you're seeing exhibited from the senior leadership, you're actually going to start creating a sort of culture that people want to work at. That supportive culture where your career is looked after, where people are asking for your opinion, where you have a trajectory that you're going as a person, where you understand the values and what the vision is that you're trying to achieve. And this is the sort of workplace that actually creates real engagement in the employees. So this is a place where everybody should want to get. Now at this point it's worth noting that unless there is the real buy-in from the leadership and these ideas are embedded, then I'm sorry to say that no supporting software will make a great deal of difference. This has to come from the top. We have seen time and time again when changing the culture of an organisation is imperative that it is actually driven from the top. So okay, so now we've set our vision. We know where we're headed. We have the path to get there, our strategy. And we have defined and begun to potentially demonstrate the behaviours needed to get us there among the leadership. Now this is where the real power of a tool like Teamphoria is so crucial. Because a platform like Teamphoria allows us to go viral. It allows us to instantly express, measure, and cultivate the right behaviours, the culture amongst each and every individual in the organisation with the power of shared experiences. And this can happen almost overnight. Again, it's not about replacing the face-to-face recognition or communication or feedback. On the contrary, the demonstration important of all these things has to be in place, but it is about amplifying the effect of every piece of recognition, communication or feedback given by anyone in the organisation. It's a bit like a culture supercharger. It certainly makes it easier to do all these things. In fact, it makes them enjoyable and will certainly help with the frequency, but the behaviours need to be valued by the leadership. The real power of a digital peer-to-peer platform is that everyone shares the communication and sees what is being valued. So the net result is more and more people repeating the new or desired behaviour, and that's what we're trying to get to, new and reinforced behaviour. So it's important to understand, before I hand over to Andrew, that when we talk about engagement and recognition software, it's not just about making people feel warm and fuzzy. That's not that there's anything wrong with that. That is actually a side effect. But what it is about is amplifying and embedding the behaviours which will allow the organisation to achieve the strategy and the vision of the business. This is about good business. This is about the necessary elements needed to actually get the outcomes that you've always needed. So we come full circle. We have our vision, we have our strategy, and we've begun to define and evolve a new culture. All the things we need to achieve the business outcomes and ensure its success. So I'd like to hand over to Andrew now so he can put a face to the software and show how simple and powerful it can be at making your culture visible and amplifying all the small and important steps it takes. I hope the presentation so far has reinforced the fact that culture is not some abstract, hard-to-define principle. It's fundamentally the net of all the behaviours demonstrated in the organisation. A platform that allows the organisation to see those behaviours demonstrated, know which ones are lacking, and then reinforce the new ones is a truly powerful competitive advantage. It just so happens that you'll also have happy employees in the process. So thanks for listening. Really excited to hand over to Andrew now so we can actually put a face to the platform and see how simple and easy it is to work. So Andrew, would you like to take it from there?
Yeah, thanks, Dom. As always, fantastic. Just a sidebar here real quick. From the beginning, working with Dom and Corporate Edge has been amazing, almost seamless in form, as if they work for us here at Spark, here at Teamphoria. Definitely 100% alignment with thought. Sometimes I feel like I've heard Dom talk several times just because I feel like he's reiterating what we believe in as an organization, and that's why it's such a great relationship or partnership. It really creates a full service solution. And one point I want to pull out that he mentioned is you have to have these behaviors already existing outside of the software. Software is not a silver bullet. I'll say that up front, and people will probably question, really, this is the sales guy from Teamphoria that says software is not the silver bullet. It's not. That being said, it's designed to support you, get you measurements, bring your team together, and really engage them through these different facets. So a couple of things we're going to talk about and in complete alignment with what Dom just went through. Usually we go through different features of the software, but I want to pivot a little bit differently here with what Dom spoke to. So first, aligning behaviors and how we do that through the software, the recognition portion to be specific. Secondly, driving cultural change. Just like Dom mentioned, a culture exists. Regardless of what you do, if you have people, you have a culture. Doesn't mean it's good, doesn't mean it's bad, it could be anywhere. But you do have a culture. And so we're going to talk about driving culture change through software, specifically through the communication and culture modules within Teamphoria. And then finally, as Dom mentioned, the warm and fuzzies are an amazing side effect or symptom of having engaged team members or a great culture. But at the end of the day, what are we looking for? We're looking to achieve business outcomes, and you can kind of monitor those through the performance module within Teamphoria. So what is Teamphoria? It's not just a funny name that is really catchy with a cool logo. It's cloud-based software that your team members can access from anywhere, any mobile device, except for BlackBerry. Sorry, BlackBerry users, but iOS, Android, tablets, smartphones, on your desktop computer. And so the cool thing is, any of the functionality and the feature set you're going to see here today, you can do at home while you're not at work. You can send recognition to someone, while you're at home and just thinking about this great thing that happened at work today, where someone supported you with a customer, with a client. Maybe they went above and beyond, and oh, by the way, there were these expected behaviors that were set forth from leadership, and now you want to add visibility to it and amplification. So Teamphoria lives on the cloud, and the first thing you see as a team member when you log in is this page here. It's the activity feed. Again, amplification of all of the great things going on within your organization. Let's be honest, work is tough, life is tough. And as humans, we're really good at focusing on the negative aspects of life and work. And so what Teamphoria does is it focuses on the positives. Let's look at those great things going on. Is it a silver level, a gold level, a platinum level? What did they do? Let me comment on it, like it, share it. I can share it on social media. I can share it to other team members, to management, and again, make it go viral, which is huge and insurmountable within the business setting. So what you're looking at here is what the award itself looks like. So you can see there's interaction underneath. I can see the individuals' faces, because one thing we've experienced here, high growth. We walk through the building and sometimes we're like, hey, I don't know some of these new team members, but oh, by the way, I see their faces in the software. It bridges that gap. Some of the best stories that we've heard, the best use cases, are organizations that have multiple locations or remote team members where, I was just having this conversation 15, 20 years ago, and in my dad's business setting, my dad's business world, we wouldn't even be able to have this webinar with organizations in Australia. You can do engaged workforces through Teamphoria in a similar format where you can see what someone looks like. You can see what they're doing to achieve your business goals. You can see what they're being recognized for. And oh, by the way, core values. Encourage behaviors that you want to reinforce, define, redefine, and then, oh, by the way, I can report on them, which we'll touch on that here in a bit shortly. So let's look at it from a macro level when we speak to aligning of values and behaviors. Teamphoria allows for you to look at it from a business unit level. So I can go in and I can see different things, percent change of total recognition sent and received, but I want to focus your attention on the core values area where you can see percent amount of recognition sent for each core value. Again, software is not the silver bullet, but what it does give you is insight to start asking the right questions, doing the right things, and making the right business decisions outside of the software. As Dom mentioned, sometimes you have these great presentations, conversations that leadership might give where you'll see that peak in engagement, and then the team member goes back to their desk. So what's that leave behind that's going to continuously measure someone's engagement level or continue to recognize them, continue to engage them? And software is a great solution for that. That core value alignment is extremely crucial, and you'll see you can even get more granular. I'll get to that here in a second. The next aspect I want to focus on is the impact. So when you send recognition, which, by the way, only takes 90 seconds based on Google Analytics reports we pulled, you can see you choose who did this individual impact to earn this recognition. And so now I can see as an organization, who are we impacting the most? I can drive different competitions, whether I want to make sure that we're impacting the community more this quarter or we're impacting our internal customers or external customers. Now I can sort of gamify it a little bit, and I have additional insight to see, based on the recognition that's being sent and received, who are we impacting? What values are we representing? And I can see, are we actually walking what we're talking about? Again, a tangibility to something that maybe previously was a bit intangible. So the cool thing within Teamphoria, and this makes the hair on my neck stand, is when you can start to look at different locations, different departments, teams, projects, you can even drill down to the team member level where I can see which core value does each group represent the most, which ones are they maybe not doing so well at. And so, looking at this screenshot, those first, 6 or so departments or teams, none of them were recognized for service. So again, giving me insight, maybe the group in Miami doesn't work directly with customer support or work directly with the customer. So again, insight mixed with context outside of the software so that I can interpret it accordingly. Well, what's cool is now I can start to hold my teams accountable, can hold my managers accountable. Why is your team not sending recognition? This is something that we value as an organization, as a leadership team. Hey, we value this united core value. Why is your team not being recognized for it? Again, asking the questions. The software is not the beginning and the end, but it is the beginning of the conversation. It's a conversation starter in many ways. So let's talk about culture change, and this is not easy. This is not an easy thing to do. That being said, it's necessary. Change is very much necessary as an organization, and all organizations add and remove people on a daily basis. And so communication within Teamphoria allows for you to capture live feedback. And so the cool thing is Teamphoria will give you 4 default communication tools that you see on your screen. Ask a question, rate your day, make a suggestion, and vent a frustration. That being said, the customizations really are endless. The dev team would laugh at me a little bit, but you could have an infinite number of communications that you could turn on. You can edit everything from the icon that represents the communication tool, the title, the language. So if you look underneath ask a question here, you'll see there's language there to guide the submitter on what's occurring. Because, by the way, language is a huge piece of any culture. Even if you took ask a question and used it, you're probably going to want to change that language, because what ask a question means to corporate Edge or Teamphoria is going to be completely different from your organization. And so you can change the language there. You can change the visibility. So who gets to see this when it's submitted? Who gets to respond to it? Are they anonymous? Are they not anonymous? Are we going to force them one way or another, or are we going to give them an option? The last communication tool was more of an open format, and this one is a rating. So you can actually create your own rating, customized communication tool. And so this one in particular, the one we give you by default, is called Rate Your Day, but we've seen clients change it to anything from Rate Your Week, because they place value on it, to Rate Your Meeting. And again, it's because their culture places a high precedent on having efficient meetings. If they're having good meetings, they want to know why. If they're having bad meetings, again, they want to know why. They want to be able to capture that data through reports that are, by the way, similar. They look just like the recognition reports. We can dive in on a team member level, a team level, a department level, a project level, a location level. Again, really, because we're capturing this data, the options are endless, and it's all exportable to CSV format if you have to drop a really nice looking presentation for your leadership team. The great thing about software is, let's be honest, it is scalable. And so by capturing all this information, you'll see here on your screen, this is what an admin has access to, is this Manage tab. And so what I then have the ability as a manager and admin to do is to filter by the type of communication that's being submitted, by the status, has it been read, archived, has it not been read yet, or what's really cool is this searchable keyword functionality. It's really taking this gut feeling that you have about your culture, attaching a tangibility to it. I was at a conference, and I had this great analogy presented to me, and someone said Teamphoria is like accounting software, which usually makes me cringe quite a bit because I came from a payroll company. That being said, the analogy was a CFO walks up to a CEO and says, hey, we grew revenue last quarter. CEO says back to the CFO, how do you know? CFO answers, it's a gut feeling. So the CEO is probably going to do a couple things there. Either tell them to go back. Hopefully they have some sort of software or spreadsheet. They'll go back and crunch more numbers. They want more data. Or a worst case scenario, they'll get laid off. Teamphoria gives you the insight to be able to take a gut feeling and say, I have 30 communications associated with the word tablet. And so now I can go to my leadership team and say, okay, we've heard different people complain about the tablets, but now specifically I have 30 submitted communications. By the way, 12 of them are events, 8 of them are suggestions. Well, then I can go in and look at the events specifically. So maybe I just want to hear when people are upset about it. And then I can look at the suggestions and say, okay, I've heard enough of people complaining about it. Now I want to see the suggestions to be proactive on what exactly and specifically they feel they need. Again, attaching this tangible thing through a social environment. So now I can make those business case decisions because of the insight the software has provided me. So the next step is culture change through measurement. We do this through a culture feature within Teamphoria that allows for you to send out pulse surveys. So Dom and Corporate Edge have a great one that they call their Align tool. And it's fantastic from a pulse survey standpoint. And so what you can do is you can actually build your own survey within Teamphoria, and we'll report on it for you. A lot of organizations out there, every day when I'm talking with CEOs and CFOs, they're not measuring these things like pride, alignment, value, happiness. They're kind of putting it in a bucket called employee satisfaction. And employee satisfaction surveys are great. They're really not. Usually they're 60 questions. They take forever to do, and you're forced into making comments even when you don't want to share comments. And so why not have the ability to do it in an environment where your team members are already engaged, you're going to simplify it, and then we can capture that data and present it back to you in an easily understood format. So business outcomes. it starts with performance reviews. There's tons of articles out right now that say the performance review process is broken. It's time we stop doing reviews. We'll be the first to tell you that that is completely wrong and false. And here's why. The performance review is not broken in itself. The process is broken. It's not just a one-time measurable. Again, like your culture, an individual's performance is not a one-time thing. It is a constant ongoing thing, whether you're doing it through alignment surveys throughout the year, you're doing it through evaluating the recognition throughout the year, but really it's how we're doing it. What are we doing to streamline the process and make it more effective, more efficient to the team members involved? So Teamphoria is designed to create an easy workflow for everyone involved. Everything from the HR admin dashboard you're looking at here, where you can see everything from how many of my team members have completed the reviews, which manager specifically hasn't actually executed their reviews, have they even started them. I can reference past reviews from a compliance standpoint, and then I can go in and send a hyperlinked email to my team members announcing the release of the review. They click the link and they're automatically on a page that has a profile on it, tells them about what this review is about. Maybe it's the biannual review. Maybe it's a monthly review. Again, each organization is different, so we've created this customization ability where you can actually go in, and it's a survey builder. It's super simple. So this is one example of a scale-based question. And so as you'll see, it's very friendly, same format that you're used to within the rest of the software. And so the great thing here is you're already capturing all of this great high-level team member feedback. So why not attach it to this business outcome, these hard numbers based around someone's performance throughout the year, where you're already storing their achievements or recognition. But now I can also see where they move throughout the year from an alignment standpoint. So let's rate their core values. I can go and look at the report specifically and see how aligned are they from a team member perspective. Did they represent participation as a core value well? Did they not? Why? Again, a conversation starter from a software perspective, not the beginning and the end, but the beginning of the conversation at the middle. So we also allow for goal setting. Goal setting will be coming out here in early 2015. But the great thing here is you can set goals that allow for you to create accountability buddies. So allow someone to actually look at your goals and hold you accountable to achieve them. They'll receive notifications throughout the year saying whether it's personal or a professional goal, because let's have the discussion that you're one individual. You have to combine the one life. You're not two separate individuals. We're huge believers in that. But you set accountability buddies, you set milestones, a tangible date to have it done, and there's huge studies that if you do these three things, you're 80% more likely to accomplish your goals. What if all of your organization, or 80% of them, were accomplishing their goals? That's going to do tremendous things for your bottom line. Again, the warm and fuzzy is nice, but if we're doing all of these things, what comes with it is a fantastic outcome for everyone involved. So just to speak to pricing real quick, this is all in Australian dollars. We do segment the pricing a la carte. So you'll see a recognition level at $1 per team member per month, engagement level, which includes communication and culture, at $5 per employee per month, and then performance, which includes everything you've seen here, for $10 per employee per month. So Dom, I'll throw it back over to you here to kind of round us out.
Thank you very much, Andrew. And as I said, we're in excellent hands. As you can see, exceptionally powerful software, and a man who knows it exceptionally well. So thank you very much for taking us through there. So many amazing tools to really make that culture visible, make it measurable, and an ability to really amplify it around the organization. And I'd say, we've been using it for almost a year now in our office. And I'd just like to reiterate one of the things that Andrew touched on is that one of the unforeseen benefits that we've experienced is that it's a great form of communication. All of a sudden, we're not just seeing necessarily, although it's important, what people are doing well, we're actually just seeing what they're doing. And so for dispersed workforces or people, you don't actually necessarily see everybody, you don't actually know what they do and what their role is. all of a sudden you're getting this constant stream through the actual feedback of what actually people are up to, what they're actually achieving for the business. And one of the great benefits of that is that everybody who's been a part of the actual outcomes that the business achieves sees their role and sees the value of their contribution to that ultimate success. And I think, as an example, we've all potentially been in places where there's a strong sales force within an organization, and of course they're the ones that usually get the big wins, and then they're potentially the ones that get to the awards. But we know that it's actually the IT guys that help them help their systems keep working. It's the PAs that made sure that everything was running smoothly on the front end, and it's the person who went out late at night and actually grabbed the food for those guys while they were making the phone calls that actually are all a part of that success. And so it's amplifying those behaviours. It's actually understanding the role that each individual has played, and it's showing the value of each of those pieces of behaviour, and all of that is an amplifying effect for the culture we want to see. So, look, thank you very much, Andrew. Really appreciate you taking the time, and thank you all for joining us. Please don't hesitate to reach out for us if you want to discuss anything that we've actually discussed today, or you have any questions about the platform. Andrew and I would be more than happy to set something up for you, discuss your needs, make sure that we can get it off the ground and running smoothly, specifically for your organisation and what you're actually trying to achieve. So thank you, Andrew, and thank you for everybody attending, and we look forward to talking to you in the future.